edition of the Gersnet Podcast, the Rangers podcast that is brought to you by fans from France, and then where the content is always free. We are, as ever, brought to you in association with Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a long-term commercial sponsor and partner of Rangers, and we are delighted, as always, to have them backing our podcast and sponsoring our podcast once again. For information on their services, please go to their website, which is forestprecisioneng.com. And also, they have a fantastic lounge in the historic main stand at Ibrox. And for more information how to book this space, contact the club at hospitality@rangers.co.uk. We are live tonight, as always, on YouTube, and we would appreciate you sharing the podcast as well as our website and our forums with friends and families. So, with all the formalities out of the way, just to introduce my guest tonight. So, joining me this evening to look back on European games as well as look ahead to our cup game tomorrow is Colin Armstrong. Colin, this is the first time we've been on together this season, so how's it going?
Yeah, not bad, Ben. Yourself? I'm currently enjoying a holiday. I was up in Lewis last week for a week. I was at the Lewis and Harris Rangers Supporters Club to watch a couple of games, which was good. But I'm back to work next Tuesday, so not looking forward to that.
So you're happy till Tuesday then? Fair enough.
Well,
till tomorrow, perhaps.
Rangers dependent, obviously.
Very, very true. Yeah. So we'll get into it. So just starting out, as you, I think you were on the preview just before the season has started. I don't think you've been on again. Is that right?
Yeah.
So there's been, as ever, there's much talk on things. Where are you with things? I mean, for me, things have got way out of hand in terms of the criticism early on. I'm disappointed with how we started domestically, but I'm not surprised with how much has had to be done. And I've certainly not made my mind up one way or another on a manager, as some seem to have. I mean, where are you with things?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty much in the same category as yourself, Ben. I mean, I had hoped that we'd got off to a better start. I mean, obviously, when the fixtures were announced domestically, we'd looked at it and thought we had a good chance to get off to a half-decent start, which is not something we've managed over the last, 3 or 4 years. Obviously, that's not transpired. But, yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is just well wide of the mark, I think. I mean, I'm having to bite my tongue on Twitter, to be honest with you, because some of the comments about looking for Russell Martin to get sacked, I just think there's an element of our support that constantly demand change, get it, I'm happy with it, and then demand change again. You know what I mean? And I think we've all been saying for a while we need to hit a period of, consistency and just settle things down a little bit. And I just think it's far too easy. Far too early to judge how Russell Martin is going to get this team playing. I was coming out of Ibrox last week after the Saturday there after the Dundee game, and one of the comments I heard constantly was the same old shite, and I was like, well, it isn't, because we've got new owners, a new board, new sort of director of football or whatever you want to call them, new manager, new players. If we'd retained Phil Clement, for example, and we were seeing the same thing again, then I would be saying, right, this is the same old shite we're seeing. But it's not. It's a new regime, it's a new team, it's a new system, and it's all trying to fit. And I'm old enough to remember, Rangers managers starting their careers and not starting them in the best way. Graham Souness didn't start his Rangers career well, lost the first 2 league games. Walter Smith had a sort of sticky start, as did Andy Gorham at that time. He was conceding goals left, right and centre. He went on to become a Rangers legend. Dick Advocat didn't have the greatest of starts. I mean, even after I shouldn't have bothered, actually, because I just got abuse for it. But I pointed out that Ange, I think he lost 3 of his first 7 and drew 1. You know what I mean? And it was just a pile on, telling me that I had to shut up and all the rest of it. So there's evidence there to show you that new managers coming in and introducing new system with new players takes time. I think I've seen enough, especially in the home leg against Victoria Pleasant, or whatever you want to call them. I thought that the home leg, we saw the best example yet of what this team is capable of, if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I know the Motherwell game wasn't great, but I thought there was little signs in the first half as well. I thought there were 3 or 4 times we cut them wide open and got right through them, no bother. but it's just not been consistent enough. There's not the intensity that we thought we were getting. There's not the high press and all the other things that we were promised. But when you look back at Martin's career, I think he himself commented on the day saying he's had this at every club. The first few games are ropey while players get up to speed and take on board what's been asked of them. So I'm nowhere near, pushing the panic button. It's disappointing, but no, I'm still confident that he'll turn this around and get us playing.
Yeah, no, I think where you're at is fair, and I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one in that kind of mood. I mean, we've invested too much in the past, and to just give up now and just accept it that this is how it's always going to be. So, I think the interesting point that you make there, when people are talking about, oh, it's just the same old shite again, it's not, because I can, as you sort of touched upon, the first half in the Victoria Pleasant game, particularly the whole game, the first leg, excuse me, and then there's been pockets of us doing something that is to a style that he has talked about. There's no doubt about that. It isn't as consistent as we would like, but that's kind of to be expected, I think, as you're bedding in. Also, when you take into the fact that he's admitted there's a lot of these players that he doesn't want, So it's not like he's had a full window, even let alone two windows, to really have his own team. So he's working with, we saw it with Clement, and I thought after every game, there's no, what are we trying to do? Whereas I can actually see what we're trying to do here, and I can see it's enough to sort of bear with it. And I think he needs more credit for the fact that we are still within a shot of the Champions League, because given what he's walked into, he could have quite easily lost that Panathinaikos game, and you couldn't have turned on the manager then either, given the circumstances. So he has done well and deserved credit.
I think that's almost been forgotten, that we're one round away for qualifying for the Champions League. I'll be honest with you, when we put out Panathinaikos and secured, group stage European football in the Europa League, I'd said to myself, well, anything else is a bonus now. We've secured European football. We've got group stage European football. Obviously, I mean, from a footballing perspective, I would prefer to play in the Europa League, to be honest with you, because I think that's kind of our level. I think it gives us a greater opportunity. I think the Champions League is extremely difficult for clubs of our size, and to pay 70, 80 quid for a ticket to watch your team potentially getting absolutely scudded is in terms of enjoyment, I think that's questionable. But the obvious thing with the Champions League is the money that comes with it. So if we secure that, we get a chunk of the cash. It helps us in terms of trying to compete with Celtic. It gives us like the last 3 or 4 days of the window to try and secure maybe better signings. I'm imagining that they know, the areas that they want to strengthen. For some of those options, there's maybe 1 or 2 players. If we secure Champions League, they can maybe go for the better option of those. So I do think he deserves credit in terms of where he's got us in the Champions League. I mean, the domestic stuff has been poor, but in terms of the Muller game, I thought, his reaction spoke for itself. He wasn't happy with the team, how the team performed. Saturday there against Dundee. Again, after we got the penalty, which was a penalty. I don't understand the debate on that either. But after we got the penalty and scored, you're seeing a level of intensity and, tempo that you're like, why is it taking to the 91st minute for you to show this? Because even with 10 men, we were cutting them open. And we were really unlucky not to get the winner because, obviously the Dessers goal was touch and go in terms of the offside. So that's a frustrating part. And I don't know whether it's, a culture thing in terms of, the club's been struggling for so long that, some of the characters that have been there that whole time just slip into bad habits, and the new boys can't get them out yet. But there does seem to be a sort of resistance to move the ball quickly, to do that press, and you're watching it at times. I mean, I thought the Dundee game, it could have been a Clement's team we were watching for long spells of that. There was just no bravery, no intensity, no one willing to, put the ball forward and take a chance. So there's 2 options here. Either they're being coached that way, or they're not taking on the instructions which Russell Martin has given them. Now, given Russell Martin's been quite vocal about the type of football that he wants to play, and we've seen what he's done at other clubs, you would have to say it's the players. They're not adapting to the style. They're not carrying out the instructions the way he wants them carried out. And again, I think that takes time. Obviously, we've not even closed the window. You need to get a couple more players in. Obviously, we'll need a left back. Now, it looks like Jeffty's away. I would also like to see another left centre-half in there. I also think we need a striker. So there's one or two still to come and go, in my opinion. So, yeah, it takes time. So to be hitting the panic button, or for so many of the supporters to be hitting the panic button at the moment is a bit premature, I think.
No, I agree with you. And I agree, to me, it was like watching the Clermont team. The thing that encouraged me was the manager's response. If you had had Clermont, you'd have had 10 different excuses, or sports science, saying why we couldn't have done this, that, or the other. Where he saw the same as what you saw, and what I saw was the game, we weren't moving the ball fast enough. So he said he's identifying these things. He's not hiding behind things. So that encourages me, that things will get better. And you have to believe that at this stage. So just moving on to the game in midweek there, going away from home with a 3-0 deficit, or sorry, the 3-0 lead. Many teams, bigger teams, bigger clubs have gone away, have in that situation and lost the away leg. I'm not desperately worried about it. It was about getting through the game, getting more minutes in the legs. Obviously, the performance wasn't good. There's no hiding from that. But you're 3-0. You're already 1 foot in the next round. You're just going there and protecting. And at the end of the day, we did enough.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's again, I agree with your point there. I mean, what Russell Martin's saying, in my opinion, aligns with what I'm seeing on the pitch. I mean, whereas obviously with Clermont, I don't think that was the case. But the game itself, there was large sort of stages where it was really, really frustrating. I mean, it just wasn't happening, and but there was also pockets of good stuff. And I don't think, I mean, all I've heard is how poor that team were. They reached the last 16 of the Europa League last season. It took Lazio to put them out. I mean, I don't think they're the mugs that people are sort of claiming that they are. So for me, I'm with you. It was just about getting the job done. There was one or two nervy moments, but you're going to get that in a European game. You know what I mean? You really are going to get that. And obviously they get the goal just before half time. Poor defending. Really, really slack goal. And that is one issue that's a concern. I think defending at set pieces isn't great at times. Obviously, we're conceding a lot of chances, a lot of shorter goals. I know Martin said today that when you break it down, a lot of them are from outside the box and all the rest of it. But you would still like to see us control the game a bit better than we are at the moment. But overall, I think over the two legs, we've done more than enough. I think we were the better team over the two legs. I think we deserve to go through. Yeah, there was moments in that game on Wednesday night that were uncomfortable, and just the way we gave the ball away constantly, and cheaply. It just really, really frustrating. And as a defender, that's frustrating because every now and again you're looking for a break. You're looking for your midfield players, or you're looking for your forwards to get you up the park and keep hold of the ball. We just weren't doing that. But I also agree with Russell Martin in that there were pockets of really, really good, passages to play, holding possession, especially towards the end. Towards the end, I thought we killed the last 10 minutes. I thought we killed the game stone dead. I thought we held the ball really well. So yeah, it was awkward at times. It wasn't great. It wasn't a particularly great watch. But job done. And we're 2 games away from potentially being in the Champions League group stage. I'll be honest with you, when we started out in this journey, I thought that was beyond us at this stage, given where all the sort of turnover that has been over the summer in terms of new regime coming in, new board, new manager, new team, all that kind of stuff. It's good that we got through it, and and we're in with a real chance. And I think if we do get there, we're ahead of schedule in that respect, because as I said, I didn't expect us to get into it at all.
No, I agree with you. I mean, take off the blue specs, and there's no doubt, you said it already, we're a Europa League squad. So obviously anything above that is a bonus. and we obviously want to be tested in the highest level we can and all that. But do you feel, take the money aside and obviously prestige of the Champions League, do you feel like if we were playing in the Champions League and like the last time we were taking a few doings, do you think that could dent the confidence? Going back domestically, it's quite hard to lift yourself from getting a drubbing midweek to suddenly, win every weekend. Do you think that's a problem or not? Not really. Seem to have lost you there, Colin. I don't know if you can hear me. Radio is get back on. Sorry, guys. Yep, yep. So yeah, I mean, I obviously want us to be playing in the Champions League, and I want us to be testing ourselves. But I do sort of agree with Colin in that it's probably comes a season too early. Although on the other hand, it does give you the money to reinvest and to improve the squad, and that's one thing. Once we got into the Champions League under Gio, I think there was, if I remember correctly, there was only a few days of the transfer window left, but we didn't sign anyone else. And obviously we paid for that at that stage. So you would hope that we've learned. And I think given the new regime at the club and these owners have obviously proved that they'll put their money in their partner hand in their pocket, excuse me. So I think that would be different this time. So, I can see it both ways. We want to test ourselves at the highest level, but we also want to win games and have the habit of winning. So your belief probably for me is better in that route. And hopefully we'll have Colin back in a minute
I'm
or
back
two.
now.
Oh, that's brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, Ben.
yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. So I was just saying, and I just talked about it there, but did you think that if we were to go in the Champions League and to be taking the doings like we were doing the last time, do you think that would affect your confidence going back into domestic?
I mean, it's a hard one to say, isn't it? It's I mean, I've seen Walter Smith teams go into Champions League and not do particularly well, and it's not really impacted on the domestic stuff. Although that was a team that had a bit of momentum. They'd already won maybe 3 or 4 league titles in a row. It could. I just think if I genuinely think if we can get this team playing the way that Russell Martin wants them to play, and that style of football, that that trying to control possession, high press, high tempo, all that kind of thing. When you look at what he's done at other clubs, he's done well at other clubs. He's got some really, really impressive results. Obviously, when he took Southampton into the Premier League, he got found out a little bit with playing that style. So hopefully he'll maybe learn from that. If you're taking a step up in terms of the quality of opposition, you maybe have to have more than one game plan, and you've maybe got to tinker with your system and be a bit cuter and all that kind of stuff. But I genuinely think the style of football that he wants us to play, if we get it right, then I think we'll beat pretty much most teams in Scotland most weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I see it. So you would hope that anything negative in terms of if we were to get into the Champions League, and we've taken a few bad results, then it wouldn't impact on that.
Yeah, no, that seems fair. So moving ahead and looking at the squad in general. So we know tonight that Robbie Fraser has departed on a permanent basis to join Dunfermline. Best move for all concerned, in my opinion. Good lad. He's lived the dream for a while, but just realistically wasn't going to make it at Rangers.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, it's really difficult for young boys to come through, at Auchenhowie and get into the team and stay in the team. So yeah, there does come a point with every player that's young boy that's came through the ranks at Rangers when they've got a decision to make. I mean, I know it's probably for a lot of them it's their dream to play for Rangers and play for the club they've probably supported as a boy. But you want to play, and if there's no real, if there's no real opportunity for that to happen, or there's no real scope that's going to happen, then you have to think about what's going to be beneficial for your own career. And it's all about the management having a good conversation with the boy and saying it's not going to happen here. I think it's best for you and it's best for the club if you move on. So yeah, all the best to him, because I mean, I know I only got a handful games, but he done okay. And as you say, he can always say that he wore that jersey and represented the club. But yeah, wish him well in his future endeavours.
Yeah, here. And sticking with left back, I mean, our squad is inflated, is bloated in many areas. But I am, for one, very worried that we are going into this. We talked about the Champions League playoff. We're 2 games from the Champions League. We basically don't have a left back if we're fortunate to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
I mean, Yesterday it would seem is all but done going back to Brazil. Your thoughts on him? Firstly, we've heard about this potential. I would probably argue that his deficiencies outweigh this potential. All in all, he could have been a player, but more likely to lose you a goal than create you one. For me, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I kept on hearing, like yourself, I kept on hearing, the potential. He was part of the trading model. Bring him in cheap, sell him on high, and that's kind of worked. The fee that's been sort of touted about is 6 million. I have to say I'm slightly surprised at that, but I do remember one game Jeff played. It was a European game on away tie. I can't remember who it was. I'm sure he played a wee bit further up the field, and he done really well. He was getting to the byline, getting good crosses in, all that kind of thing. Again, I was speaking with a mate about this today, and we were sort of discussing, the pros and cons. And he felt there's enough there to develop. I feel one of his biggest flaws is his positional sense, and I'm not convinced that's something that can really be coached. I think that's either in you or it's not in you. You can improve your your distribution, your shooting, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you can't improve your positional sense, but I just always think you're working against your own brain. Your brain will always tell you where you think you should be. And I just think that's something that's really, really lacking in his game. I tend to find, I think Wednesday night was a perfect example. He was caught wrong side, and then when he's trying to get back, he slips and falls and allows the boy in. So again, I think it's best for all concerned that if he gets that move, because I don't think he's of the required standard. I'm not convinced. I mean, I heard someone say through halfway through last season, they were talking like 19 million for Chelsea and all this. And I was like, where is this? Where is this coming from? I just didn't see that. And I mean, the boy might prove me wrong. You know what I mean? He might go on and have a stellar career. At this present moment in time, I just don't see it. And I think we need something a bit better in that left back position. It's an area that needs addressed. As much as we all gave Borna a hard time, I think he's the last real left back we had in that position. Ridvan, for whatever reason, just hasn't worked out. He's not robust enough. He's too injury prone. And without sounding sizist, for me, he's just too small to be a defender, especially in Scotland. So it's not worked out and with Ridvan either. So that's an area I think we need to address before the window closes. And all the best to Jeffy, but yeah, I think it's the best move.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that, and including on Ridvan. I mean, I think for all concerned, he needs to go elsewhere. We need to really look at that. I really hope that is a position that we are imminently about to bring someone in, because to be this stage of the season, with crucial games coming up, not least the Champions League game and then Celtic coming up in a couple of weeks, we need to have a left back. And just on it, one last point on it. Do you think, like with yesterday, do you think we judge players that have come in from foreign countries a little bit harsher than maybe our own, because he's actually younger than Robbie Fraser? I
think one thing I will say, I think the likes of Robbie Fraser, he wasn't in the team long enough to outlive his honeymoon period. You know what I mean? Every player gets that. They get a few games when they first come in before the fans will sort of start being a bit harder on them. I just think someone like Jeffy coming in, we're told so much about the potential the boy had and what the plan was, and to a certain extent, that is what's happened. If we've secured 6 million for him on an £800,000 outlay, then that is brilliant. That's a brilliant piece of business. But in terms of what he's contributed to Rangers, I just don't think he's contributed enough, and I think he's been caught out far too often in games. It's every now and again he's come in and you think, actually, you know what? When he came into the team there, when we were playing Aaron's at left back, when Jeffy initially came in, I thought, oh, we've got a better balance here now. You know what I mean? It's working. But within a couple of games, you're looking at the game going, no, he's just a bit of a liability for me. Still young, and as I said, the boy could go on and prove us all wrong. But I think it's the best all round that he moves on. Best for the club, best for the player. In terms of getting harsher treatment for us, I'm not convinced that's the case. I think the criticism that he got, I don't mind criticism as long as it's constructive. The boo boy stuff, I'm too old for that shit now. I think he deserves some of the criticism he got. I think it was merited. I think, as I said, he was caught out positionally. There was a period last season, in the early part of the season, the amount of times the ball was going to cross him just in front of the 6-yard line, and he was letting it go across him, and someone was coming in at the back post and scoring or putting the ball back across. It wasn't learning quick enough for me. Mistakes were happening, and the same thing was happening again. And I think Wednesday night was again another example of that. So yeah, it's probably best he continues his sort of footballing journey somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I'm pleased if reports to be believed that we've a sell on in that deal as well, so that if he does turn into the player that he could have been, we may reap the rewards. But moving on now, as I was writing the agenda for this, it was before the press conference, so it's changed somewhat in terms of Desser's injuries. Not obviously, Russell Martin says it's not as bad as we first feared, but I certainly don't think that leaves the debate over needing a new striker to be redundant. Because Desser's or no Desser's, for me, we still need to improve in that area. I think domestically, in particular, when you look at with the 2 goals that we scored domestically this season, one was from a set piece, which was as a result of a mistake by Motherwell, and the other was a penalty.
Both were free halves.
Well, both were still from our right back. So I think that itself speaks for, and even in the European games, you've moments of class from Gassama and stuff like that. So we're not creating and scoring enough goals at this minute in time. Do you still feel we need to make a change up there?
Yeah, we do. I mean, obviously there's a continuing, and I think that's kind of, we fell back into that everything's Desser's fault again. I mean, I was noticing a lot of that after the game on Wednesday. We know what Desser's is. You know what I mean? You know you're going to get a good amount of goals out of him in a season, and you're going to get some duff moments. You either accept that or you don't. I've kind of went down the path of accepting it. You know what I mean? We'll get between 20, 25, 30 goals a season out of him, but there'll be moments when you're tearing your hair out of him. I'm not. I mean, Egerman. All the talk is that he's going to move on. I think we've obviously seen moments from him last season where he looked a real talent. I don't think he's been consistent enough, and it worries me that so many managers have now, come on, didn't use him a huge amount. Barry barely used him at all.
Yeah.
And now Russell Martin's come in. I know he's had a wee injury and he came back late, but it just worries me that there's a trend there that seems that managers come in, have a look at him, and just think for whatever reason they don't fancy him. So if he's going and if we can get similar money in, in terms of he came in for next to nothing. If we can make a profit in him, that'd be a great bit of business. But yeah, I would like to see maybe even 2 come in that position. You know what I mean? Because I'm not content with going with the 3 that we have at the moment. You know what I mean? I think Egerman will go. There's obviously Desser's looked like he was going at some point, and that seems to have cooled off, but there's every chance he might go. I'm still unconvinced by Danilo. You know what I mean? I know he's coming back for injury and all the rest of it. And again, he's another one that has moments. I thought he had a bit of an influence on the Dundee game. You know what I mean? I thought he sort of picked us up a wee bit in that area, but just not consistent enough. And I think we need a striker badly. Maybe even 2.
You just don't see that striker that wins. The guarantee, well, not guarantees, but the wins you the title. There, I see somebody that can contribute, but just not that Perso or whatever that's going to go, or Yelovich that's going to go and win
Yeah.
you a title like that. Don't have to say Croatians, but there you go. So just before we'll move on, but two more questions just on the squad. In terms of goalkeeper, going into the season, first of all, what were your thoughts? Did you say we need a new goalkeeper immediately, and has that changed?
I mean, I think Butland had raised that question with his performances last year. I mean, I've seen goalkeepers go through bad periods before, but that's arguably as big a drop in performance I've seen from a goalkeeper in a long, long time. When you think about how reliable and steady he was in that first season when he arrived at the club, and to what he was last season. Now, obviously, there was an issue. There was a personal thing, with his wife, and when she gave birth, and so you don't know what's going on in a player's mind and their mental state and all that kind of thing. And he's had some cracking saves this season. He had 2 or 3 really good saves on Wednesday night. One in particular when he put it over the bar from the grass. You know what I mean? It's a daisy cut a shot, and he got his hand to it and managed to put in a fight on it to get it over the bar. But he's also looked. I was a wee bit surprised at Martin's comments about he sort of singled him out for praise in terms of what he's doing with the ball at his feet, which is an area he makes me really nervous, I must admit. And there has also been a couple of saves that he should have made when he spilled the ball and all the rest of it. I get the impression we're going to go with Butland. I just don't see or hear any talk that we're in the market for a goalkeeper. I'm still a wee bit nervous about Butland, I must admit. I thought early, the first few games of the season, I thought it looks like he's turned the corner, but there's still signs of vulnerability there, I think. But he might get more confidence as the season goes on, and we might be okay, because there's no doubt when he's on it, he's a top drawer keeper. But I'm still a little bit nervous about Butland, I must admit.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I worry that there's still that mistake in there, and then I worry how he responds to that mistake, because it seemed that the game is, so I wouldn't mind someone being brought in as sort of, not necessarily as a number one, but somebody to sort of challenge him, and because I think he knows he's a better goalkeeper than Liam Kelly. Liam Kelly's been great as a number two, but he knows he's the number one, and I think just having somebody push him there might get the best out of him. But I think it's probably going to be a case of there's too much to do elsewhere in the team. That's probably where he gets stay of execution.
If you were asked me to put my mortgage on who I think the Rangers goalkeeper will be this season, it would be Jack Butland.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, lastly, on the squad, is there any other areas in the team that you feel, for us to be able to play this style consistently, win consistently, and perform consistently? Is there anywhere else do you feel we need to do before the end of the window?
I think the main areas are the areas we've identified. You know what I mean? So I think the whole left side of the defence is it needs addressed. I'm still not entirely happy with Suter. He still gives. I thought he was, a big part of why we lost Njiga last week. It was him. It was his really slack pass that gave away possession at a crucial time. And that creates the turnover, as they call it these days, and then the boys through, and then Njiga's got to intervene. I thought we looked really ropey down that side on Wednesday night at times. We looked really vulnerable down that side, and I don't want to go down the whole leadership group again, but Butland, Tav, and Suter especially, their body language at times has annoyed me. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just wonder. I thought Martin made an interesting comment in the press conference today. It sort of commented on, it's been a long time that the club's been in a sort of negative space for a long period of time, and maybe some people are just set in that mindset and the culture, and trying to change that is more difficult than anticipated. And he'd commented that someone on his staff had said, we're trying to turn around a tanker, so it'll take time, but once we get it turned around and moving, everything will start motoring. And I genuinely am looking at Butland, Tav, and Suter and thinking, are you maybe part of that problem now? If there is an issue with culture in there, and a sort of feeling that it's never going to change. We're never going to get out of this rut. Are you part of that problem? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating here, but Suter, especially his body language at times, and I think he's one of the culprits that's really slow in moving the ball at times.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'm entirely happy with Suter being in that team. So I would like that.
Have we lost Colin again there? Yeah. Yeah. A few technical difficulties. That's fine. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so we're going to move on in a minute anyway. We'll have a chat about Saturday, everyone. So obviously looking forward to what should be, as we've heard before, should be a comfortable win, but it's an important one. And I'll be discussing with Colin in a minute. That obviously it's a cup game we want to get through, but we need to show some growth and some style, and it's a chance for these players to sort of some who haven't had as much game time as well as those who were there. Calling you back. No, it might be away again. Nope. Yeah, give him another wee minute there. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, are you calling you with us?
Yeah, here now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
happy days. No problem. So we'll move on now anyway. We'll move on to Saturday. So good news is that we won't be dropping any points this weekend, but that's because it's a cup game. But anyway, so it's just before we talk about the actual game itself, this is the third Saturday in a row that will be sort of the tea time, 5:30, 5:45 kickoff. I know this is modern football and it's TV and all, but does that bother you at all, or?
Yeah, it's, I tend to find, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be the new kickoffs for the whole season. I tend to find you get a couple of those kickoffs in the early weeks of the season because the Premiership hasn't started yet. You know what I mean? So, Sky and other companies are looking for games to cover certain time slots. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating. You know what I mean? I left Lewis last Saturday. I was on the 7 o'clock ferry. It kind of worked in my favour in a way because the later kick-off. So I got back home round about sort of 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, made my way to Ibrox. But, the time I got home, you know what I mean? It was like 9:30, you know what I mean? 9:30, 9:45. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain, but it is. That's the modern game, and unfortunately, the last people to think about is the match going supporter. You know what I mean? VAR's another example of that. You know what I mean? We're the last to find out of anything that's going on with that. We're just a backdrop for the people sitting at home watching it. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. But yeah, I must admit, a 5:45 kickoff on a Saturday doesn't appeal to me very much at all.
Yeah, sad but true, I'm afraid. Yeah. So moving on to the game itself, obviously, main objective of the cup game is to get through to the next round. However, importance of it's not make or break by any stretch the performance, but it is important that we show, particularly against a League One team, that we are growing in some form of style. And we've talked about those pockets, but for you want to see that a little bit more in this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously winning is the main thing, getting through, and especially when we're in such a turbulent period. I think it's just a case of winning, getting the minutes in the legs, giving the players another opportunity to adapt to the instructions that Russell Martin and his coaching staff are trying to give the players. It would be nice to see a performance. It would be nice to see us play really well. I would like to see that intensity. And sometimes, I mean, I'm taking it down a whole lot of levels here to like playing five-a-side with your mates. But I always found, if I was going through a period when I wasn't playing very well, I would find, there was 3 or 4 games in my work of all varying levels. You know what I mean? So there was a game, it was, guys that had played at a half decent level. There was a sort of middling game. If I was struggling, I would have a game with the bottom level guys, and that would just increase your confidence a little bit. You'd maybe get a few goals or whatever. And so it's a similar sort of thing tomorrow. Obviously, we're playing Alloa Athletic. We're expected to go through. It'll maybe give the players a bit of confidence to be a bit braver, and to try and implement this new style. And once you start doing it, and once you start realising you can do it, then obviously that can maybe kickstart a little bit of momentum. So there's that could come out of it as well. But at the end of the day, given where we are, given that so many supporters are unhappy, I think just make sure we're in the next round is the main thing. Plus, we all have scar tissue from the last time, we faced lower league opposition at Ibrox.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's where we differ, Colin, because you have a game with the bottom level just to kind of bring yourself back up. I think I'd have been there and maybe on the bench for them the whole time, but there you go. But yeah, so does the fact that we need a performance, um, does the fact that we need a performance change, obviously for a game like this, and maybe the performance and the fact that we lost to a lower league team last season, although a different manager, does that change the amount of changes you might make for this game, or are you still thinking whoever we bring in should be able to deliver?
I mean, I think given that we've struggled, might mean that one or two who were maybe going to come out will stay in, and I think Martin hinted at that today. I mean, I would really like to see Mikey Moore start tomorrow.
Yeah.
I must admit, I've been quite keen to see him. Obviously, the boy is it Asgard? I can never pronounce his name. Is it Asgard? Yeah. So, you would be hoping whether I don't know whether he'd be starting or not, but you would hoping he would make an appearance at some point.
Yeah. I would hope so. I don't know in terms of the way Martin was talking about them. It didn't sort of assume that they were ready maybe for a start, but you would hope maybe start some of the other players. Ideally, get the game won and give them a second half, or at least the last sort of half hour or so. But I think the fact that we haven't seen them makes it a little bit more intrigue to the game. So without any more delay, what would be your team for the game? I mean, I think if the boy Fernandez doesn't play at this stage, you would be really worried.
Sorry, Ben, I cut out there.
Oh, did you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. You're okay. So no, I was just saying, what would your team be for the game? If the boy Fernandez doesn't play, you'd be worried at this stage for a game like this. You hear me?
I mean, I think. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you hear me, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't think there'll be a huge amount of changes for last week. I think that's what Martin sort of hinted at. I think Cortez, it would be an opportunity to get him in the game at some point. Whether he starts or not is another thing, but seeing what he can offer. I mean, I think in terms of the back four, I think it'll be the same back four as last week, but obviously Tav will be at right back and probably go with Aaron at left back. The midfield, you maybe see Barron make an appearance, but I don't think there's going to be as many changes. I get the impression that Martin's viewing this as an opportunity to get these boys in. The boys that have been playing recently, to get them in and try and implement this new system.
Okay, no, that's sort of the impression that I got as well. On Finlay Curtis, there's been a lot of talk that he's been harshly treated. Coming out of the team the way he is. For me, he's been treated the way that a young player should be treated. You get a taste of it, you do well, you're brought back down to earth and slowly reintroduced. But I think overexposing him would have been the worst thing to do for him. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, he looks about 14. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's players of that age. I think there's all things you need to take on board. Not just in terms of their performance mentally, how it's affecting them mentally. You don't want them to become a bit ball-headed and think they've made it and all the rest of it. There's also the physical element you have to take into consideration. Taking that step up from the level that they're playing to first team football, the impact that's having. So yeah, I think he's been managed well.
Yeah. No, I agree. Your score prediction for tomorrow?
I'm going to go 3-0 Rangers. Dessel's hat trick.
There you go. Injured Dexter after. Okay, so I'm going to say 4-1. Sadly, I can't see us keeping a clean sheet at this point, but I still think we'll comfortably get through the next round. So two final points just to finish off. I'm hearing strong rumours tonight. Bailey Rice going to go back to Motherwell on loan. Do you feel that's a good move for him at this stage, or do you think he still has a part to play within the squad? I think it's yeah, rapid. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Sorry, Ben,
Sorry.
can you hear
Sorry
me?
for everyone
I'm
for.
struggling to hear you.
Yeah. We're just gonna wrap up here, Colin. So thank you for joining us tonight. Apologies to everyone for the technical issues, can't be helped. And obviously we were live on YouTube tonight. As always, we will also be available on all your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where you get your podcasts from. Um, in the near future. And we would also appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and share the podcast and the forums and the YouTube channel as well, as it helps us to promote the podcast. And to discuss the match afterwards on Sunday evening, we will have Ross on. Um, and it'll be Scott and Ross will be on Sunday night, and they will discuss the game and also look ahead to the very important European game coming during the week. So thank you everybody for watching and listening. And we will be back on Sunday night. Thank you.